Hey, welcome to Big Lou Barbecue and other things I want to do. I'm Big Lou, and this is what I've got going on for you. We're going to make a 4-meat jambalaya. That's right, 4 meats in this jambalaya. All right, first I want to talk to you a little bit about jambalaya. I have learned since starting this YouTube channel 4 years ago that regional food differences in areas of the country, I've learned a lot of things. I've learned what chicken bog was, and I've learned what poutine was, and I've learned all kind of different foods I'd never heard of. And I found out that, the foods that I grew up with here in Louisiana, jambalaya, gumbo, stuff like this, a lot of people have some preconceived notions outside of the Gulf South about what they are. There's 2 kinds of jambalaya. There's red jambalaya and brown jambalaya, also called Creole jambalaya and Cajun jambalaya. And I found out that outside of Louisiana, the red jambalaya, the Creole jambalaya, the jambalaya that's popular in New Orleans, is the most popular outside of the state of Louisiana or the Gulf South. But in the state of Louisiana, outside of the New Orleans area, brown jambalaya is by far the most, the Cajun style. The basic difference is the red jambalaya has tomatoes in it. And I like the red jambalaya, but I like it in the summertime when I have fresh tomatoes in my garden that I need to use up. And so I only make Creole jambalaya maybe once or twice a year. Or at least during the summer. This is November, we're using leftover turkey, and I'm not making a red jambalaya. So if you're expecting a tomato-based jambalaya, this isn't it. This is traditional Cajun jambalaya, brown jambalaya, okay, that we're gonna make. Now usually, also people think that jambalaya has seafood in it. No, some jambalaya has seafood in it, like the stuff that they sell in restaurants to tourists. Most jambalaya is usually just a poultry or a pork and a smoked meat, usually a sausage and sometimes a tasso. All right, chicken and sausage jambalaya is probably way more popular than any seafood jambalaya. All right, so what I'm going to be doing is using a smoked turkey. I smoked a turkey earlier this week. We ate on it for 2 or 3 days, and I took the sandwiches to lunch. My family's 25% smaller than it used to be, and it had quite a bit of leftover smoked turkey. I've got this in this bag here. All that's going into the jambalaya. Got 4 other meats too. So it's usually a poultry or a fresh pork, and then a smoked meat like an Andouille sausage or a Cajun smoked sausage or a Southern smoked sausage, any kind of smoked sausage you got, or Tasso. But I'm gonna use sausage, Andouille, and Tasso, and the smoked turkey jambalaya. In fact, the turkey jambalaya was the first jambalaya I made on my show. And I'm gonna use fresh pork, all right? I've got some fresh pork too, so we're gonna have fresh pork, tasso, andouille, and turkey in this jambalaya. And I made the stock yesterday, y'all. I took that turkey carcass and I put it in a pot, and some of those bones from where I chopped up the pork, I put those in there too. So it's really a pork, smoked turkey and pork stock. I'll put some onions, some bell peppers, some celery, a cayenne pepper in there, and some basil, bay leaves. I put some bay leaves in there, and I boiled it all down, and I gotta tell you that stock came out great. We're gonna use some of that too. So let me show you the ingredients. I've run my mouth long enough about jambalaya. Hopefully you learned a little bit about what jambalaya is and what jambalaya isn't, and let's make a 4-meat jambalaya. By the way, we're going to season it with Uncle Steve's Shake, 2 of his varieties, the thick meat and the SpicyR. Stay tuned. Big Lou Barbecue. Let's make this 4-meat jambalaya. All right, these are most of the ingredients we're going to use for a 4-meat jambalaya. And I've got about a pound link here of andouille sausage. If you're not familiar with andouille, it's a popular sausage here in Louisiana. And it's kind of like, almost like a ham that's made into a sausage. It's got big chunks in it. It's packed tightly. So I'm going to cut one like this just to kind of show you what andouille kind of looks like, all right? So it's different than most other types of sausages. It's usually got, bigger chunks in there. It's not as finely ground. I've got some homemade tasso that I made, and it's delicious. It's going in there. And then I've got this turkey that I smoked that I told you about in the thing. That's just 1 slice left and some chunks. A lot of that's the stuff I peel off the carcass when I'm carving it up. But anyway, that's a leftover smoked turkey. And I've got some fresh pork. This right over here, this darker meat, that's from pork steak, so it's pork butt meat. And these are from some pork loin chops. I had them in the freezer. I let them thaw out yesterday, and last night I cut them up into, bite-sized cubes to go in this jambalaya. So that's the fresh meat there, the andouille, the tasso, and the smoked turkey. That's all pretty much cooked, but we are going to brown off the tasso and the andouille. All right, for our vegetables, I've got the equivalent of 2 ribs of celery. I've got a bunch of green onions. I've got the bell pepper and the onion. The celery, the bell pepper, and the onion is what they call the Cajun Trinity. You gotta have that. All right, and I've got a whole head of garlic. All right, and yeah, this bell pepper is kind of afflicted looking. I felt kind of sorry for it in the store. I was like, nobody's gonna buy that ugly, misshapen, misfit bell pepper. I'll take it home and use it. I'm sure it'll taste just fine. So I bought that because I felt kind of bad for it. And I've got the turkey stock that I made up. Probably going to use about at least 8 cups of it with 4 cups of rice. I may do 10 cups of it with 5 cups of rice if it'll fit in the pot. Let me get this all chopped up. We'll start cooking the jambalaya. All right, I got everything chopped up. Got the Trinity, the celery, the onion, and the bell pepper. That goes in first. The green onion and garlic go in toward right before we put the rice in. It doesn't get browned up with the Trinity, so that's why that's different, all right? Got the tasso sliced up into these little diced pieces like that. And I got a good color on this tasso this time. It's a really good tasso. Andouille sliced up into slices, bite-sized slices. And of course the turkey's pretty much already done. I'll just break it up in there. And this is already cut up. Let's go ahead and get that seasoned up, browned up, and start cooking this jambalaya. All right, so I got this pork meat. And some of it is pork loin meat cut up from pork loin chops. And some of it's pork butt meat cut from pork steaks. You can kind of tell the difference. Anyway, it's, sort of bite-sized pieces. And what we're putting on here is Uncle Steve's, the thick meat. This is a salt and pepper heavy variety. And if I wasn't using this, I'd probably just use salt and pepper for this stage. I'm just gonna get that all coated. How much? As much as you want to. If you like a lot, use a lot. If you like a little, but basically you wanna get all this meat coated with it. So I'm gonna need more than what I put in there. All right, just get it, just get it good coating on every piece. I got a gloved hand on here. It's just easy to mix it up with that, but suppose you could use a spoon. I'm gonna add just a little bit more. All right. And now I've got some of this browning sauce. This is Savoy's brand. It's a Louisiana brand. I don't know if it's available nationwide or whatever. You could use Kitchen Bouquet. That's pretty much the same thing. Just a browning sauce. All right. And this will help give a good color to the jambalaya as well. I'm gonna get all that meat coated. So it's got the Uncle Steve's. I'm gonna add a little bit more Uncle Steve's thick meat. And let's get that in the pot, get that browning up. We got to get this cooked. It's the only meat that we do not yet have cooked. All right, you want to use a cast iron pot. I'm gonna throw just a tad bit of bacon grease. Let's save bacon grease. If you don't, start. Just a tad bit of bacon grease in the bottom of the pot before we, and we're gonna brown that pork in the bacon grease. Not a lot, because the pork's gonna make its own juices there, but we're gonna get a little bit to get that bottom of the pot slick and brown this meat up. Well, I tell you, the lighting in my kitchen here has got this pot looking a lot less seasoned than what it looks like off of the camera. But I tell you, it's a good seasoned pot. All right, just dump all that in there. So that's all that fresh pork, and we're gonna get it to browning up here and get it cooked. All right, let's have a look-see at how this is browning. Oh yeah, it is nice. Cooked up, and we got some of those juices with some of that browning sauce down in the bottom. So I washed the bowl. I had it in earlier. It's been washed. I'm gonna put this in this bowl here, okay? We're gonna set it to the side. It's a one-pot meal, but you gotta have a bowl to put your cook stuff in when you take stuff out and cook other stuff. So let me get it in the bowl and we'll show you the next step. All right, next goes the tasso and the andouille. All right, all the andouille and the tasso is in here. Now you don't have to brown the andouille. Oops, I got a green onion in there with it. Tried to avoid that. You don't have to brown up the tasso, but I like to get to the little crisp. It makes it a little bit more, almost like a bacon bit, but it's not bacon, But I do like to brown up the andouille, put a little fond on the bottom of the pot, and get it all nice. So we'll be back once this meat is browned up nice. All right, the sausage and tasso is browned nicely, so I'm gonna get it out of here and put it in the bowl with the pork, and we'll be right back for the next step. Into all this deliciousness on the bottom of that cast iron pot, we put in the Cajun Trinity there, the onion, celery, and bell pepper, and we're gonna cook this till it gets to the onions are good and caramelized, all right? Now they're getting a little brown because of all that good fond on the bottom of the pot, but you gotta get them cooked and caramelized. And I am on a medium-high heat right now. We will be turning this down in a little bit, but we are on medium-high heat. We're also gonna add in at this time some of the Uncle Steve's SpicyR, all right? So we're gonna get that with that. How much? I would say maybe 2 teaspoons. By the way, this is 1 onion, 1 bell pepper, 2 ribs of celery. That's the ratio you want for the Cajun Trinity, all right? And we'll show you what it looks like once the onions are good and caramelized. Just gonna keep stirring and keep cooking. This smells so wonderful. All right, these onions have gotten caramelized. Now they look a little darker than what they normally would look because of that browning sauce, but I can tell that they are where they need to be. And we're gonna throw in the onion and the garlic, the green onion and the garlic rather, at this point in time. And we're not gonna leave that browning too long because that garlic will burn. I'm also gonna throw in 3 bay leaves. Keep a count of how many bay leaves you throw in because I like to pull them out before I put the rice in there. They'll be floating. And that way you don't have to get served jambalaya with a bay leaf that you can't really eat, you know, on your plate. You could leave them in through the whole process if you want to, but really we just wanna brown it up in that stock. All right, now I'm gonna put in 8 cups of that smoked or that turkey stock and pork stock that I made yesterday. It was turkey and pork stock mixed together. And I'm gonna put in 8 cups of it. We'll use 4 cups of rice. And we're gonna get this to a boil that was cold, so you can see it cooled off my pot quite a bit. It had been in the refrigerator overnight. And to this mixture here, we're gonna add more Uncle Steve's shake. I would say about at least a tablespoon, if not a tablespoon and a half. But I'm just kind of eyeballing it till I coat the top of it. And that's probably enough. Yeah, that's enough, all right? That's 2 tablespoons. Yeah, like that, all right? And some Tabasco. All right, also gonna add some Worcestershire sauce. About the way I say it, but my grandfather was from England. He called it Worcestershire sauce. I pronounce it Worcestershire, like New Hampshire, not Shire, Worcestershire, some people say. Worcestershire sauce, all right? It's from a place in England, you know? So anyway, that's what we got there. A few dashes of Worcestershire sauce in the exact amount. That's a few dashes, all right? Also, several dashes of the Tabasco, all right? We're gonna bring this to a boil. You know what? I was mistaken. Before we bring this to a boil, we need to put the meat in there, all right? So that's all the pork, that's all the sausage, that's all the tasso. So the sausage, the andouille, and the pork. And the reason we're making this video and putting it out the day after Thanksgiving, the leftover turkey, this is smoked turkey. So I've got 3 smoked meats in here. The tasso and turkey I smoked myself. The andouille is store-bought, but it was smoked because it's a smoked sausage. And the fresh pork was not smoked. We just browned it up in the bottom of the pan. So that is why we're only doing 4 cups of rice. Look at all that meat in that. Now we bring this to a boil, then we add the rice. Okay, this has come up to a boil, and just look at all that. Look at all that. Turkey, pork, andouille, tasso. Man, all right. I'm going to go ahead and pull that bay leaf out. I'm not going to look for the other 3. I know I've got 3 more in there. Oh, there's one. If I can get them out before I put the rice in, then I don't have to pull them out when I serve it. I don't see the others. The other 2 will come out when we serve it, so it'll stay in there while the rice cooks. All right, we got that boiling, and what we're gonna do is dump in 4 cups of rice. Remember we had 8 cups of liquid. That's about all this pot's gonna hold with this much meat in there. All right, that's white rice, but it'll taste better if you'll say it like this, white rice. If you call it white rice, it'll taste a whole lot better, all right? But most people just say white rice, but around here, white rice. All right, we wanna stir this 1 time. Do not stir white rice while you cook the jambalaya. If you watch a video where they're stirring the jambalaya the whole way through, they're using parboiled rice. If you use white rice, do not stir it. All right, we're gonna bring this back to a raging boil, all right? All right, it's come back to a raging boil. Now remember, you just stir it right after you put the rice in and mix it all through, and then don't stir it again once that rice begins to cook. So it started to boil, we're gonna cover it. We're gonna set a timer for 30 minutes. We're gonna let this
boil for 5 minutes. When the timer gets to 25 minutes, we're gonna turn the stove off and let it just sit there in this cast iron pot for the next 25 minutes after it boils for 5 minutes. That's why you wanna use a cast iron pot, because the cast iron holds the heat and that rice will be cooked perfectly. All right, the timer's dinged. It's been 30 minutes since I last spoke with you, but to you, it's just a blink of the eye. Once again, when you're cooking with white rice, just put it in the cast iron pot, let it boil for 5 minutes, and then turn it off and let it sit for 25 minutes, and you'll have great rice, and that works well with jambalaya. So if you stir it, you're gonna wind up with gum. You're not gonna wind up with rice. But anyway, it's done. I guarantee you it's done. Just look at that, look at that. It's got a beautiful tan brown color to it. The rice is done perfectly. Each grain is separate and it's not sticky. And that is some beautiful, beautiful jambalaya. All right, we're gonna serve this up and I'll taste test it for you.
All right, look at that, look at that. See, the color looks a little better than the picture from the pot, but you want that brown color to it. Still steaming hot, 4 meat jambalaya, 3 smoked meats. Got that turkey and Tasso that I smoked myself, all right? And the Andouille, which is store-bought. And then that fresh pork that we browned up in there at first with the browning sauce and the Uncle Steve's thick meat. Then we put the SpicyR in the stock that we made, homemade stock. Everything here is from scratch. Only thing I didn't do was grow the vegetables or raise the turkey and the pork and pig and whatever. Anyway, 4 meat jambalaya. Want to make sure I got some turkey, some andouille on this fork, rice. There's a piece of Tasso in there. I don't have the pork with it. I'll have to, yeah, there's a little piece of pork too. So look at that. All right, all 4 meats in this one big old bite. That is perfect. It's perfect. Not too salty. Now I had a lot of salt in that stock because I made that stock. So I didn't have to add salt. If you're using a store-bought stock or something, you may want to taste it and see if you want to add salt. But that one, perfect, boy. Right amount of Uncle Steve's shake. Y'all saw how much I used? Exactly that much now, I'm telling you. Or a little bit more if you want it. Uncle Steve, that stuff is good. Jambalaya, Uncle Steve's shake, thick meat, SpicyR. Great use of leftover turkey. You only got to use 2. Use a turkey and use some smoked sausage or some Tasso or whatever you have. But it's good with the pork, the turkey, everything. Man, we got some garlic toast over there on French bread. I'm about to eat with this. Sorry for eating in front of you, but that's a good meal. That is a good meal. Thanks for watching Big Lou Barbecue. Hope you enjoyed it.